Apple took it too far for me with that when they started charging you about $400 per wheel. You are paying for the privilege to roll it around.
And I bet you Sherri would not touch that with a 10-foot pole.
I would not.
That I have the power over the mute button in the Zoom call, so if you go over your time, I'm not afraid to mute you. Do you understand?
I'm not afraid to go over my time either, so this is going to be a war of wills.
I love it. This is Seriously, the show where I gather 3 tech experts from all over the internet and put forth to them the tech questions that we all need the answers to, so they can argue about it for your entertainment. Today's subject is Apple still truly innovative? A spicy topic. I'm sure we'll get a lot of spicy takes on it. And giving you those spicy takes, first up, it's LaptopMag's editor-in-chief, Sherri Smith, global editor-in-chief of TechRadar, Gareth Beavis, and global editor-in-chief of Tom's Guide, Mark Spoonauer. Each of you will have 20 seconds to give an opening statement right now. And Gareth, I'm going to be coming to you first.
Well, I'm going to argue that Apple is no longer truly innovative because it never actually has been. I think the word innovation actually doesn't really apply to Apple because what it's done has been very much of a long burn rather than a short, sharp, oh my God, it's changed the industry in so many ways very rapidly. So there are other more innovative brands, but Apple is still doing what it's doing best.
Fair enough, and well within time as well. Mark, I'm going to come to you then.
I'm going to argue that Apple is innovative because they reinvent categories, and that's exactly the definition of innovation. So they did it with the smartphone. They did it with the smartwatch and Apple Watch. They're never the first, but they tend to completely redefine what that category is. So I would say yes.
Fair enough. Well, we got one person on each side of the fence, and only Sherri Smith left to go. Sherri, your time starts now.
I guess I'm going to straddle this fence a little bit because I personally do not use Apple products in my personal life, but I cannot deny that Apple has been behind a lot of change in the industry. The MacBook Pro is literally the laptop that launched 1,000 clones. Can't say no to that. The way that it's come in with the AirPods Pro, with truly wireless earbuds, and right now with the M1 chip, it's going to make a lot of laptop manufacturers think about making their own silicon. So while they are never first to the party, which disqualify them from being innovative, they are innovative in the fact that they do change the game.
Okay, then brilliant. So let's head back a little bit then, and I want to hear from each of you what you think is the most innovative Apple product that they've ever released is. And Gareth, I'm going to come to you first because I know you're a man who's been to many an Apple event in his lifetime.
Yeah, and I think I want to clarify what I said to start with. I mean, by Apple, I agree with Mark in the sense that Apple is great at upending industry and making things better and pushing the boundaries of what people will accept, quite honestly, and that in itself is innovative. But when you talk to many readers and to early adopters, innovation is like do something new, change the game, make people realize that now we have to go down this route. Apple doesn't do that. It does it in reverse, like backs into it and then just forces the message in a different way. If you look how many years ago when Steve Jobs said our iPhones are never going to use Flash, it took a while, but eventually the industry just gave up on Flash, and that was really one of the harbingers of that. But in terms of like the big innovations over the years, I do feel like there are some products that were seismic, and I think the iPod is the first one. And I was one of those people that I loved MP3 players when they came out. I was just at the point where I could start to afford to buy this kind of tech. And I tried different things. I had like small Matchbox size ones that were brilliant, and you could put 100 songs on there. And then when I upgraded to the iPod, with the touch sensitive wheel, that was game changing. And I think Apple with the iPod didn't just make something that celebrities got involved with, that it was iconic in so many ways, the white earbuds, etc. But they became synonymous with music. They redefined it with the shuffle and the mini and opened up to new categories. So there's that. I'd say the iPad. The word iPad is now synonymous with tablet, and I think that tells you a lot of what's happened there. I think it's largely to do with Android manufacturers never having the tools to fight back, really, never having an operating system that worked as well, as iOS did, or iPhone OS as it was originally known, and then became iOS to accompany the tablet. And I think Apple Pay is actually innovative, partly down to the way that it's been sort of spun with marketing. But there's been a very strong message around Apple Pay, biometrics, privacy, that while, you can get an equally good service across Android and Google Pay and all these different ones, they're fragmented, and Apple's been very targeted with that. So again, Apple Pay itself it's one of many. It's not innovative as a service, but the way it's been integrated and the messaging is consistent, I think has changed contactless technology.
Interesting stuff. I think everything you said there is spot on, right? But you kept coming back
Thank
to this
you.
thing of, yeah, no worries. You kept coming back to this thing of like, this isn't necessarily the first iteration of this device, but Apple bring it to the mainstream. So Sherri, I'm wondering what you think about that. Is it important to be first, or do you think it's important to do it right? And is that what Apple's doing, or are they just marketing better than everybody else?
I think Apple is one of the biggest Columbusers in the game. It takes massive chutzpah for a company to say, hey, we've invented the pencil. I will never ever let them live that down. Like, oh, really, Apple? You invented the pencil, this writing utensil that we've been using for God knows how long. You have invented the pencil. Okay. In terms of favorites, Apple products, I'm going to go with my iPod Classic. I love that thing. It speaks to the hoarder in me. It allowed you to get 10,000 songs. And I was slowly but surely building out that collection. I guess for the color aspect, I'm going to go with the IMAX. That really changed the game with like everybody wanted one. They didn't necessarily need one, but look, ooh, the colors. And that really started changing how we looked at our tech, because before that it was just blah. It was blah, beige, gray, and black.
But what I keep hearing is their fashion statements, right? The white earbuds, good with celebrities, the iMac, it's all about fashion. Mark, give me something that isn't fashionable as its number one priority that was innovative from Apple.
Well, I'll give you two examples. So the first was the original iPhone. So I think a lot of people forget that when the iPhone first came out in 2007, BlackBerry ruled phones, and Windows Phone was actually a thing. Remember?
There's Windows. It was Windows Mobile back then, Mark, wasn't it? Windows Mobile. Windows Phone came because the iPhone's interface was so much more intuitive.
Yeah. So, and a lot of people just thought, well, I can't live without a physical keyboard. And I was actually one of them at the time, because I was a BlackBerry Curve devotee, and I would walk into meetings and I could type like just as fast as people were talking. And unfortunately, I actually never got fast enough on the touchscreen versus then. But I think the way that they reinvented like multi-touch as an innovation in and of itself, like there's pages and pages that have been written about just that singular innovation and how it enabled devices like the iPhone to exist. So I think, just that's how they reinvented the smartphone in and of itself, because it actually existed for 3 or 4 years. Another good example of innovation is, what do you do that causes the competition to try to copy you for years to come? The iPhone was one of them, but the other one was the MacBook Air. So when Steve Jobs pulled that laptop out of the manila envelope, there a lot of jaws dropped, because they just couldn't believe that they could pack that technology to something so thin. And granted, the first Air itself was not that powerful, and it took a while for it to catch up in terms of, they added some ports, they added battery life. But the entire PC industry took 5 years, I think you could argue, to catch up. And I feel like that was a big deal.
Yeah, for sure. There's no doubt about that. And I'm curious then, are there any examples, Sherri, that you can think of where innovation maybe has gone too far where Apple is concerned? Any times they've overstepped the bounds and consumers have thrown it back in their face?
The cheese grater.
Tell me more about the cheese grater. I need to know.
The latest version of their desktop, it looks like a cheese grater. The power of it is amazing. Like, you get all these specs, of course, but you have to have the money for it. But Apple took it too far for me with that when they started charging you about $400 per wheel. So if you want this thing to be mobile, you will pay per wheel. So you will pay $1,200 on top of the $5,000 that you must pay for the desktop to be totally tricked out. You are paying for the privilege to roll it around.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. $1,200, more than I spent on my first car, and that came with an engine and passenger seats as well. So Gareth, I'm interested in what you have to say about this. You could argue that Apple have been innovative in the pricing of tech as well, right? Phones were never as expensive sort of as the iPhone has now made them industry-wide. Is that good or bad for the consumer at the end of the day?
I mean, it's bad for the consumer. The difficult thing is that you feel like, yes, this is too expensive, and you want to say it. And I've been reviewing the iPhone for so many years. I'm starting to get tired of it, because it's like, well, no one's listening. everyone's still paying it. And equally for a brand, it is a business. It's not like a kind of, there are people that get really angry about the cost of the iPhone, but equally you're saying, well, people are still buying it, and if the cost was too much, there would be a new challenger on the market that would come along, and people would pay that instead, and therefore the business would go down. They'd have to charge less, and you have seen it, to a degree with things like the iPhone SE this year. Some of the lower end iPhones have hit a lower price point, but the whole market has just been creeping up in response to this, because arguably people will pay it. So therefore, why would you charge less? It is a shame. And for me as a technology purist, I just want people to have cool things and to try them and to be like, look at what this can do. And my phone's got 4 cameras and I can take these amazing pictures and have these memories. I want that to be as cheap and as democratized as possible, but the industry's gone a different way. So you can't blame anybody, but yeah, it is a shame.
And if you look at the iPhone 12 mini, all signs point to it not selling very well, because not only is the price small, the screen is too small. And I bet you Sherri would not touch that with a 10-foot pole.
I would not.
It's 5.4 inches, which by today's standards is a very small display. Now it's bigger than the iPhone SE at 4.7 inches. But I think that Apple tax very much still exists, and I think you need to look at no further than the AirPods Max for proof of that. So Apple, to Gareth's point, Apple is rewarded for the size and the average selling price for their products. They're rewarded for pushing them up and pushing the envelope in terms of how much customers are willing to pay. You could make the case that the AirPods Max, as great as they are not twice as good as the Sony and Bose out there. But they tried it. They put as much technology as they could into those things to see if people are willing to pay for it. And at least during the first few weeks that it was on sale, it was sold out. It was hard to get. A $599 pair of headphones, or $550, was actually hard to get from Apple.
I actually am loving that Apple is charging $500 for a pair of headphones, because that means now that I can, because I'm selfish and greedy, I can start reviewing the headphones that I've always wanted, the audiophile headphones, the true audiophile headphones, and really hopefully bring consumers into that. So that is the good thing about the Apple effect, because once Apple gets you accustomed to paying a certain amount for something, then it's easier for me as a technologist to be like, okay, that's nice and that's all well and good, but have you thought about this? So thank you, Apple.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point, right? Apple always make decisions that aren't necessarily popular in the moment, but then you see a lot of other people follow suit. You look at the headphone jack and, like you say, removing SD card storage, something that was very popular in Samsung phones up until very recently and is now not showing its face. Gareth, I'm curious, do you really feel like Apple are the ones to watch in the industry for kind of new changes that will become the norm? MagSafe, for example. Do you think we're going to see other phone manufacturers adopt that kind of technology?
Yeah, I think so. And it's MagSafe is a good example of Apple doing something and making it popular. And there you can put it two ways. You can either argue it's done at the right time, or that it's found a way, or that Apple has just got that kind of unified. Everyone knows what an iPhone is. Everyone knows what an iPad is, or an iPod. They're just, people know it. So it's all around one real central point. So like MagSafe comes out, and everyone's like, okay, iPhone, even though it's multiple models, now charges with a magnet. Motorola did this with Motorola mods 3 or 4 years ago, and it was genuine. Yeah, like Sherri just we have that nostalgia, because we went to that event and they had like one for like a gaming pad and one for a speaker and for a projector, and like, this is genius. This is it. This is going to change everything. But the brand didn't have enough momentum to make people go, right, well, I'm going to buy a Motorola phone anyway. And I'm like, oh, cool, I might upgrade. It became the reason to buy it. And everyone was thinking, well, yeah, I've got a Samsung right now. Do I really want to jump for this whole new shebang? Like, not it just doesn't happen, because you haven't already got that embedded system. And so Apple has always had that so well. So Apple, again, it just makes a point, makes it happen, and just keeps on going at the things it thinks it needs to, until eventually everyone just expects it. Like the pencil. We all laughed when we heard Apple had launched a pencil, and now you don't even hear it anymore when you say it. It's just becomes normal.
How many times have we laughed at Apple only for the joke to be on us? When they first said, we're going to call it the iPad. And
Exactly, that is the one.
All these, you just saw so many illustrations of a tablet with like maxi pad wings on it. Like we laughed and we laughed and we laughed, and Apple laughed all the way to the bank. And then when the AirPods started coming out, and we like, honestly, I still think they look like the scene from Something About Mary. They look exactly like that. We laughed and we laughed, but if I were able to go on the subway, that's all I'm going to see. I'm going to see and I'm going to judge you by which AirPods you have. I'm going to judge you because I can tell whether you have first generation, second generation, or the pros. And I do look and I do judge silently because you don't want to judge people out loud about their choice of audio. But still, I do it.
What would be your snap judgment on somebody wearing Macs then?
I am a fan of extravagance and opulence. Like, I am never going to say no to kitchen sink tech. Give me all the things. Make it super expensive. I just, like, I don't splurge anywhere else. And headphones are my thing. Like, headphones are like shoes. You cannot just have one pair.
Well, I know we could all talk about Apple all day long if we were given the opportunity to, but unfortunately, we are out of time. Thank you so much for joining me. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you see Sherri L. Smith out in the street, she will be judging your headphone wear. So make sure you've got the latest tech. But thank you so much for joining me, guys. Please do keep the conversation going in the comments. We want to hear from you guys as well. Is Apple still truly innovative? That is the question. Please do drop a comment down below. I'll be interested to hear your guys' responses. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.